Hey, welcome to an exciting tutorial. In this one, we're going to learn how to create a PDF using PHP and a PHP class called mPDF. Alright, so to begin with, you must have a few things first, and the first one is of course a browser, because we're going to be using a browser for this. And the next thing is you need a server running on your system, and to get a server you must download XAMPP, and once you download it, install it and open the control panel. Make sure Apache is running by clicking the start button over here. Once your server is running, then we're good to go. Okay, so once we do that, open up your htdocs folder, that is drive C htdocs, so C XAMPP htdocs, and create a folder called PDF. That's where we're going to have to put our stuff. So it's right here. But I want to be able to access this folder from my text editor. And by the way, I'm using Sublime Text as usual for my text editing, but you can use any text editor of your choice. So here I'm going to drag my folder from the htdocs folder, that's the PDF folder, and drop it in my text editor here, just so it's easier to create files from here. Okay, so once we are here, we are good to go. We can begin typing here. So I must mention that you can use Notepad as your text editor. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so to begin with, let's create a file, an index.php file. So let me right click on my folder and say create new file, and save this as index.php, just like that. Okay, now in order for things to work here, we need the mPDF class, because that's what's going to do all the work. So in order to get that, we're going to use a program called Composer. Now if you don't have Composer on your system, no worries, just go to Google and type get composer, and you see a link here that says getcomposer.org. If you go there, this is the page. Yes, for some reason the logo has disappeared. Once you get here, just click on download and it will take you to this page. You have to search around here and find the setup.exe. That's if you are on Windows, but there are instructions on how to install it on other systems. Yes, so you can look at all this to your heart's content, but I would suggest you get the setup.exe and install Composer. So the installation is very straightforward. Just run the setup and follow the instructions. Just click next until you're done, and once you finish, in order to know that you've installed Composer very well, just open the command line like so, command prompt, and once you open it, just type composer -- version like so, press enter, and if you see a version number like this, then it means you have installed it correctly. But if it says unknown command or something like that, then it means you haven't installed it properly, so you might as well start the installation process again. But if you have a version number like this, then you've installed it correctly and we can proceed. Now in order to install mPDF, let's Google it, shall we? So just type mPDF there and you see a GitHub link here. Now you could go to, no, actually the GitHub link is right there. This one is the manual. We're going to need that as well, but for now let's open the GitHub link here, and this is where it takes you. Now you could be tempted to download the zip from there, which is what I did the first time, and things didn't go very well. So I prefer to use Composer. That's why I said we should install Composer, because you can still download it from here without using Composer, but I find that using Composer worked best, so that's why I'm doing that. So here, if you come down here, there's instruction that says Composer require mPDF. This is the instruction, so just copy this minus the $, of course, Now, I think if you're on Mac or Linux, you might need this $sign. I'm not very sure. I'm just sure with Windows, you don't need that $sign. Just copy composer like that. And what we want to do, very important, is to go to the folder that we are working with. This is the folder right here. And in here, I want to open a command window. Now, since we already have a command window, if you don't want to go through the hassle of opening it from here, you can just navigate to the folder right here and just say cd. Let's put the D there, and let's move it to where do we move it here? Actually, let me just do cd dash dot dot so that we move backward like that. And then I'm going to say cd XAMPP just to go into the XAMPP folder, and then change directory again to htdocs. Also change directory to PDF. So once I reach there, I'm in the folder that is where my project is. Then I can clear the screen like that because I'm ready to install. Now, if you don't want to go through the hassle of typing like that, just go to your folder, click in here and just say cmd, like so. And I typed something else. It's supposed to be cmd command prompt like that. So it's going to open the command prompt window like this with the folder already selected that you are in here. So that's another option, but as long as you are in the working folder, that is this one. And what we will do now is run the composer command like so. So we just paste this. It says composer require mPDF/mPDF. Then I just hit enter like so. So what will happen here is you must have the internet on, obviously, and it's going to begin to download the required files. Now, if you notice here, it has created the composer JSON file there, and then it's going to create a vendor folder, and that's the folder that will contain everything required. So you can see the vendor folder there appearing, which is good, means everything is downloading as required. Now, this download process takes a while, at least on my system. It's about 100 megabytes, so just make sure you have enough to download that. And oh, I guess it's done. Okay, looks like it's done. Maybe it's a little bit less than I thought. So let's open this folder right here. I can exit this since it's done now. You exit, and let's go to the vendor folder, and you find all this stuff in here, which is good. Okay, so now that we have that, we are ready to begin running our stuff. Good. So let's go back here, and you see these are the files right there. Now, if we go back to our GitHub here, we have a few instructions here, and it looks very simple. So let's just copy the text here, copy that. That's the usage there, and let's see what else is here. Nothing. That's about it. So looks pretty easy. Let me paste that like so. Okay, so it's saying require directory. So this dir just returns the current directory. That is where this this index file is. So up to here, it's this directory where this exists, and then /vendor because there's a vendor folder, and then there's an autoload.php file in there, which is this one. So that's the file being loaded. Once it's loaded, we create a new mPDF object here, and then we just tell it to write some HTML, and we add some HTML there, and then we give it an output. So it's going to output to the browser window. So all we have to do now is open our browser, go to the browser here and type localhost/pdf. Okay, and let's refresh. So refresh, and as you can see, hello world has been printed just like it is printed here. As easy as that. Okay, but then you ask if you don't want it to appear, because here it's loading the PDF onto the browser window, But what if you want to create a file? So as you can see here, there are no PDF files in here. But if I do this and say my doc.pdf like that, once I supply a file name here, then it's going to save to that file. So let's see that in action, and I will refresh. Now you see a blank page. It's not rendering to the page. Instead, it's saving to a file. And you can see there's my doc.pdf right here, which is completely unreadable here. But if I opened it in my browser, it would work just fine. And I can prove that by just going here and saying my doc.pdf like so. And there it is. Okay, great. So what else can we do, and what can we add to this to make it more robust? Okay, so there are instructions here. Let's say, for example, I want to change the font. Okay, so here I can add a style. Let me just say style, and let's say font family. First of all, before I even do this, let me come back here and render one without rendering to the file. Let's just render to the browser. So refresh. And this is the font right there. So I want to change this font. So I'm going to say font family and say Tahoma, like so. Okay. Let's refresh. Okay, and you can see the font has actually changed. But then you say, what if I want a custom font for myself, right? Very custom font. So what we do is, if I go back to the folder here and go inside the vendor and mPDF again, and no, not the source, sorry. If I go to TTF fonts here, all right, there are fonts in this folder, quite a number of them. So you could use one of these here that are provided just by giving the name. So let's see if we can, let's try this one, Free Suns, right? So let's see if we can add that one there. Let's say Free Suns, like so. I hope that is the correct spelling, and refresh. Let's see if that works. It doesn't seem to work here. Oh, yeah, it is working because that's not the default font. Let's try something that looks radically different for a sec here. Let me see. Garuda. These are weird font names. Let's see. Garuda. Let me see how that one looks like. Okay, not so different, but you can see there's a difference, right? So this is how you change fonts. Just look at the names here and use those. But you say, what if I have my own font? Well, fear not, there is a solution. So I have a font that I downloaded much earlier here, and its name is, let me go here. I had added it here to an earlier version I was testing. So this is Roboto, and let me come back to my folder, and right here in vendor, back again, mPDF, yes, right in the folder for fonts here. I will paste it here and extract it here. So now I have an extra font here. So let's see if that font will respond. So let's go and say Roboto like that, because that's the name. And let's refresh. Yeah. Now it may look like the font has changed and it has gone back to the default. That's because it can't find the font that I gave it. So if you just paste the font in there, it's not going to work. So how exactly does it work? Now, if we go back to our GitHub here, there's a documentation link. If we scroll, is it down or up here? Okay, right here it says page of documentation, and this is the documentation page. That's mPDF.github.io. So here we have instructions. So if you click on fonts and languages, so there's a lot you can go through here, but let's go to fonts here for a second, and let's just click fonts, just the first link over there. Let's see where it takes us. So here there's a bit of instruction, but what you just have to know is just copy this code here. So this is the default config for font config. That's the value you are supposed to edit in order to put your own font. So let's copy this code right here, and we're going to put it here like so. So that's the code in case you need to copy it or something, but it's right here. And then what I'm really looking for is this part here that says font data, and pull it down here up to there. Now the thing is, when you run this, when you create this here, inside here you can put an array like so, and then put some configuration data. Like for example, if you have a temp directory like that, temp dir like this, you can actually give it a folder name here, or you can just put some actual text like drive C, etc, etc, and then that will be the temp folder that it's going to use to work with. Okay, but it's not just that you can edit, you can add more than that. So this is what I want to add here. So I'm going to paste, in fact this should come a bit lower so that I define the variables here, and then I will paste what I'm looking for right here. I just copied it from there, from the font data here. Now keep in mind that this has to be an array, so we must put a bracket here and another closing bracket there, just so we can wrap everything inside this bracket. So there's the key, and then there's the value. So the value is this font data variable, which is coming from here, and this is coming from here. So this is why I copied both these lines, because they are referencing each other here and there. Okay, so we create an object where we get all the variables for the fonts, we get the default ones, and we put them there, and then from there we just get the font data, and then that font data we're appending to it, we're adding to it an array with some new fonts. So here there's R, there's I, which is regular, and italic. So if you want to add another one here, just put a comma and add another font name. So you can just repeat what's here like so. Boom. And then you have another font right here. Just remove the comma at the end here. So you can add two fonts like that. And then here you put the, so you see here there's the normal, usually there's italic version, so regular, italic, and so on. So I just want to add one here. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to call it roboto, like this. And let's go back to our folder and see what we're going to get. So let's get one of these robotos, and let me get the italic one. How many actually here? Some are hiding over here. Yeah, so there's bold, there's italic, so I'm just going to copy. Don't forget the file extension as well, so I'm going to put this one here. And actually that's the wrong place, that's for the regular. Italic is here, so let's go back and get the regular version, which is where are you, Mr. Regular? Right there. So roboto regular, and I am going to put it right there. Okay, so now that I have this, I can use this. Now keep in mind this has to be small letters. Okay, I've put it there already. How do I know this? Well, it says it says so right here in the instructions. It says lowercase. Yes, font name must be lowercase. So just read the instructions here if you get lost. So let's come back here and let's see if Roboto is going to respond. And there you see the font has changed. So that's how you change the font. Now you can add all kinds of HTML here as required to your heart's content. However, the problem is this is a very small space to put your HTML code. So what you could do is just put a variable in there, and then you can just say a b equal to, and then you add your HTML over here like this. So you can say center, what's that, like that, yes, center, and then let's put our hello world here, or how are you, something like this. Okay, great, let's try that, refresh. Okay, so it didn't go to the center. Why is that? Is it opposite like this? I never actually used this. Centre. Let's try that and see if it actually works. I have no idea why it isn't working. But if you put a style here and just say text align. Actually, let me use this single quotes, text align, and say center, like so. It should work. So refresh, and it's definitely not working. So let me change this to something I know, like a div. I don't know what that one was. Let's see if that works. Okay, that actually works there. And you can add h1 tags and so on and so forth. But this isn't still very ideal thing to do. So instead of doing all this, I want to be able to type actual HTML and then put it here the HTML way. So what I will do is create a new file right inside PDF here. And I just want to add, let me save this, by the way. I'm just going to say content.php like that. I'll save it as PHP because I want to be able to use variables. So div like that. This is much better. So now I can say h1 like so, and say hello there. So all I need to do now is to just say file get contents. So I'll say file get contents, and I will get the contents from content.php. So we get the contents and put them in here, supply that there, and we are golden. So let's see that. Now maybe here I can use my center thing. So I don't know what mistake I had made earlier. I have no idea why. Yeah, there we go. I have no idea why that was acting up. So let's see how that works. So refresh, let's see if it works. Okay, so sometimes it does this, malfunctions and asks you to download. I have no idea why, but just refresh if that happens. And hello there. Okay, great. Apparently the center is not recognized, so you have to add some styles. Now, in case you're skeptical of what styles, because certain styles are actually not supported, so what you can do is go through this. There's this part which says CSS, obviously. Where is it? CSS and style sheets introduction. So you can go through this and learn about CSS in there. But one more thing I want to show is that you can actually add images. Okay, so let's come back here to another folder. Let me just copy a file, an image file that I have in here, and just put it inside my working folder here. That's the file right there. So it's called selfie.php. So what I want to do is just say image like so, and just say selfie.jpg like so. And I don't want it to be too big, so I'm just going to say width 200 pixels, just like that. And let's come back here and refresh the page. So as you can see, images will show just fine. Images, tables, and so on. All that is going to work very well. So you can go ahead and test all the HTML that you want to see if it works. Now, there's only a slight problem here. That is, if I add some PHP tags over here, like so, and then I want to say, let me create a variable C is equal to maybe some name, like so, and I want to add some name here. Instead, I want this to be a variable, so I'll put my PHP tags like so and close them. So normally you would see that some PHP rendering there, but let's see what we get. So if I refresh, instead I get the PHP text. So this is not the ideal situation, because I want to be able to add variables to my file. I want to be able to type HTML like this and still use my PHP tags. Well, fear not, there is a solution. So all we have to do is make sure that we load the file through the server. So in order to make sure that the server processes it, we have to use our HTTP protocol. So just type HTTP //localhost, or if this is a live server, you put your www.yourwebsite.com and then PDF, which is the folder that we have, and like that. So we give an absolute path to this file, but through the HTTP protocol. And when the server sees this, it won't know where the request is coming from. It will just know there's a request through the server, and so it's going to process the PHP. So let's see how that works out. So if I refresh now, there we go. So we get the PHP processing just fine. So you can design anything you want here. So let me just replace the file with one that I had created earlier so that you can see the difference. There's content.php here. Let me just copy that and replace. Okay, already, yes, replace. Again, replace. Okay, so let's come back here and I'm going to refresh the page. And this is it. So at least you can see that you can create something like this and save it in PDF. So this is a table. Let me see if the content can show here. And this is the content right there. So you can see that there's styles here, and I have all these styles that are here separate from, they're not inline styles like this one. So I put this to show that inline styles will work. Even these ones, CSS classes as well, will work with no problem. And you can even put your PHP in there like this, and things will work out just fine. Okay, so hopefully you have learned something new. But before we do that, let me just save this to new doc. Let's see, new _doc.pdf, and let's see, there's no new doc here. So if I now refresh this time, we're going to see a new doc over there. So it has saved to file, and I can just say new _doc.pdf, and there we go. Okay, so that has been how to create a PDF file using PHP. So if you want me to explore this class a little bit further so that we can see more functionality and what it can do, just let me know in the description. But otherwise, you can get your basic PDF created just like this. Right, so I'll see you in another tutorial.